Hi, thanks for joining me today for Let's Be Creative with LBC. My name is Tracy Sawyer and I am part of the Education and Community Engagement team. So today we are going to start the process of creating our own art journal or scrapbook. We've been making lots of projects over the last couple of months and I decided that I need a place to keep all of the things that I've made. So we're going to make a journal, an art journal. Using Mod Podge, we're going to do our own binding, and then we will fill it with the projects we've been making or that you will be making. All right, so the first step with this project is to make covers. You're going to need a front and a back cover. What can you make the covers out of? Well, what I'm going to do this time is use the Humble cereal box. We want something that has a nice heft. Most books have a hard cover, well, unless it's a softbound book, but you want a book to have a harder cover on the front and the back to protect all the pages on the inside. So we're going to use a cereal box. It's actually a perfect heft to make this art journal. So I opened the box already, just trimmed off the sides, and then we obviously don't want our art journal to have this on the front, tasty as it might be. So we're going to Mod Podge on top of it. So as you can see with my example here, I used newsprint. I am really loving using newsprint. It's black and white. It gives you good contrast. It's very fun to work with. It's super cheap. It's very accessible. So today we are going to use newsprint. You could use wrapping paper. You could use tissue paper. You can use magazines. I really haven't found too many things. You can use matte paper. Almost anything is perfect for Mod Podge. You don't have to worry about the sheen because when you put the Mod Podge on top of the material, it will unify the surface. It will all be the same sheen. So usually I really stress supplies and products that we have at home. Not everyone might have a Mod Podge at home. This is a great tool to play with and have fun with. So this would be one thing you might have to go out and get. You will also need a foam brush or you can use a paintbrush. These are reusable and a paintbrush is obviously reusable, but these would be two supplies you might not have at home and you might need to get. I've also found recipes for making my own Mod Podge, but it usually involves Elmer's type glue. So if you have to go to the store to get glue, you might as well get Mod Podge. So Mod Podge is an adhesive and a sealer. So you use it first as a glue and then you can cover it up as a sealer. So what we're going to do is get some Mod Podge on our foam brush. You want to spread it out liberally on the portion of paper. You can see how I'm doing that here. And then I want just newsprint to be my base that I can add to. So I'm just going to rip pieces of paper and place it on the cereal box. You'll see there's a little bit hanging over on this edge here. It's okay for it to hang over. I can trim it later with a pair of scissors. It's easier to do that than to try and get it perfectly on the cereal box. So we're just gonna rip it and add it to the piece. So one thing I want to caution you about is when you start doing this, you're gonna think, ooh, I want to try and get another layer on there. One of the fun things about Mod Podge is that you can add layers and layers and layers. There's no such thing as too many layers when it comes to Mod Podge. However, you need to make sure that it dries all the way in between. I learned this the hard way a few years ago when I covered a scrapbook with paper from Hawaii. I like to buy cheap scrapbooks, or I get them at thrift stores, and I can cover them with fabric or I can cover them with Mod Podge. Well, on one project that I was making, I got in too big of a hurry and it didn't dry sufficiently between layers, and then it started to chip off. So once you get this layer on, you get this layer of newspaper on top or whatever material you want to use. You got to walk away until it's all the way dry. So this is the process I will do to continue covering the box. You add liberal amounts of Mod Podge to the area that hasn't been covered yet. Rip some paper, glue it on. You can use small pieces, you can use large pieces, just kind of depends on the look you're going for. I prefer the smaller pieces because the words don't stand out. I don't really want the article from the paper to be the thing that you notice when you look at the front of the journal. I want to just see the newspaper as kind of a neutral background to be the basis for what other things I would want to put on it. So I think you get the idea of how to go about this. A little layer of Mod Podge, and then whoop, whoop, so much fun. And then you put your newspaper, stick it down there, and let it go. And remember, you want to overlap. I don't want that piece because it had a picture on it. You want to overlap the edges so that you cover it completely, and then you can trim off excess pieces later. I think that is all I can tell you. So your homework this week is to get yourself a cereal box. You can also use the back of a notepad. If you have a notepad, it usually has a rigid piece of cardboard on the back. You can use chipboard. What else? I'm not sure. You could probably get away with an Amazon box. It might be a little bit thick, but I don't see why you couldn't use the sides from an Amazon box. Get yourself some Mod Podge. Oop, I have a spot here. Oh no, it's really fun to play with. Cover a whole box, and then I'll see you back here next time. We'll put a layer of Mod Podge on top of this, and then we'll talk about binding and different ways to bind your journal, your art journal, or your scrapbook. All right, I hope you have enjoyed this. I look forward to seeing you next time. Please be sure to tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. for more arts content with Let's Be Creative with LBC.